Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Once Upon a Time at the Oscars. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Once Upon a Time at the Oscars.
Oh, you want me to do it?
Yes, please.
Okay. The podcast show. I already butchered it.
It's okay.
The show where we take you through every Best Picture nomination from 1928 through today.
1927 to today. That's okay.
1920s
Yes.
through today.
We'll fix it in post. I'm not fixing it.
Will we?
Nope.
Yep.
I'm your host, Kyle,
And I'm your co-host, Ryan.
and welcome back to the final film of the 1929 Academy year.
I noticed when I went back and listened to how we talked about the previous year that there's some overlap that we already kind of have run into where we talk about the 1927 year as 1928 or talk about the 1928 year as 1929. So it's important to note that this movie did come out in 1929.
Cool.
And this is going to contribute to the 1929 ceremony. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I have gone back and forth so many times, and I even noticed I just put out the calendar for this year.
For November.
And it says 1930 ceremony.
Yes.
Which is totally fine.
That is correct.
But I thought the ceremony was in 29. Isn't that what we just said?
For the ceremony this year?
Yeah.
Yes. That is... Okay, sorry. I thought you meant for next year. For like when we talk about All Quiet on the Western Front.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we haven't done that calendar yet.
No, we have not.
Okay, so our calendar has one little typo.
Yeah. Which, again, confusing to know, like, is it for when it aired or for the movies that it's talking about?
Right.
So this is, in fact, the year of 1929.
Perfect.
That the ceremony is happening.
Clarified. We're just going to leave that typo as well, because I think it's like when people say, hey, have you been to New York City? And it just brings in, like... engagement.
Yeah, I think it's a similar situation, like Black Eyed Peas. If we put something out, we're just going to leave it. Or, opposite of Black Eyed Peas. We're not going to make another version.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we talked about that with the Lost Media.
We did
episode. So
you leave it. You live and you learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but also listen to the show so you know what year we're actually talking about.
I feel like if we did this 6 or 7 years into it, that's one thing.
Right.
With it being like the second year. And like the first year is so weird because it like goes over an amalgamation of like 2 years, maybe even 3 in some cases. Mm-hmm. I think that's okay.
Yeah, we're just getting our feet wet.
That's right.
And by the time we get to the point where it's like, hey, we shouldn't be making mistakes, the Oscars correct themselves and only exist in 1 year.
Hey, look, if we're covering something that makes plenty of mistakes itself, aren't we entitled to those same mistakes?
We're just keeping up tradition at that point.
That's right. Best Picture winner is La La Land.
So I'm excited to talk about this movie today.
I am too.
It's super unique.
It is.
Way different from anything we have covered and probably will cover.
Which is interesting because it's not even the first musical that we talk about, right? So Broadway Melody would be the first musical that was actually nominated. So, along with this, that we've talked about. So we're talking about a musical, but it kind of varies in a very different way because it's not exactly just a musical. It's more of a variety show.
Yeah.
And one thing I wasn't prepared for, and of course I should say we're talking about the Hollywood Revue, also known as the Hollywood Revue of 1929, is a variety show, but it's not even a variety show in the sense that it's recorded in front of a live audience.
Right.
You are the live audience. So watching this variety show, it's almost as if it was just taped as a variety show and then made into a movie.
Yeah.
Or not even made to a movie, put into theaters and then nominated for an Oscar. So... this was not the first time you've watched this movie because you covered it for previous.
Correct.
Okay.
So this is number 2 for me.
So think back to when you first watched it.
Yeah.
How there's a scenario, did you know going in that this is a variety show?
I always do a little bit of research before the movies, so I did know that's what it would be. I didn't know to what extent. I didn't know if there'd be like an underlying story or anything kind of
behind
like
the
Broadway
scenes.
Melody.
Yeah.
Right. Watching it the first time, I remember being very critical of it because I was like, who is this for? why are they doing this? This is the year of me just completely changing my opinions on everything, I think.
Wow, that's great.
Oh.
Well, you got to remember that was your first year watching those movies, right?
Right, yeah.
So now you get to watch me be in the similar position you were in.
Totally, yeah.
And you get to be in the higher than thou position of like, well, you know what? Maybe I take myself out of it and I look at the movie how it is. And I'm very much in the
what is this?
I'll just come out. This isn't a movie.
Okay.
It's a movie,
Yeah.
but it's not a movie.
Sure.
And there's a little bit of narrative, just a tiny little bit of narrative with some of how the characters enact or react to each other and interact with each other. But outside of that, there's no forward momentum to this.
Sure.
It's performance after performance after performance with a host or two or three who comes out to announce it. And that is very different than anything I have seen before, which isn't always bad, but it does lend itself to be more like when you go to the theater and you watch Hamilton in theaters, where you're like, yeah, this isn't a movie, but it's like a production that I'm watching.
Like an event.
An event, exactly. This is more of an event, but it's so dated in that the names and the characters that they're bringing out, where they're like, can you believe that we got Abbott and Costello? And you're like, sure. Like, it's just, I know Abbott and Costello, but then they even bring out, like, you know, who's the best singer, who are the best actors. And you don't even know if, like, am I supposed to know these names back then? Yeah. Or are these, like, characters they've introduced in the world of the Hollywood Review?
Sure.
And I very much get the feeling, especially with Abbott and Costello being involved.
Laurel and Hardy.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. I'm so sorry. It's Laurel and Hardy. So Laurel and Hardy, my apologies, are introduced, which introduces the idea to me that everything else is, for lack of a better word, canon. So the characters that you're supposed to meet and the ones they bring in, they're like, can you believe we got this guy, or the best singer in the world? You think that they're real, you know, people based on real people, at least. So that was my perspective of it. Not terrible. And I did finish it. There's a segment that I'm very excited to talk to you about, and I won't get ahead of myself, but let's just say if it's not Laurel and Hardy, then it's got to be something pretty fun. And I thought it was.
Yeah, I think I know what it is.
Yeah, I have a feeling you do.
Let's lay out the details before we get into the movie. Hollywood Revue, 1929. This is an MGM production, which is kind of cool because Broadway Melody was also MGM.
It was.
So they're pumping out some musicals.
Yep.
This was directed by Charles Reznor, and then your, what do they call him? Interlocker? The host, basically.
Correct, the host.
Yeah, is Conrad Nagel. And you also have Jack Benny, Norma Shearer, Joan Crawford, Laurel and Hardy, Buster Keaton. The list goes on and on and on and on.
It does. And just from the starring credit given to Conrad Nagel, that is very much the name that character is introduced as. So there's another scenario of exactly what I was saying, where someone is playing themselves.
Yes.
Maybe it's a heightened version. I'm not very well aware with Conrad Nagel. To you, did this feel, and with your research, did this turn into be like an accentuated version of himself, or was it very much just himself on screen?
No, I think there are a few characters in this that play personifications of characters they're known for.
Interesting.
Buster Keaton's a good example. Laurel and Hardy obviously are doing their bit the whole time. Mm-hmm. But Conrad Nagel is just supposed to be Conrad Nagel. They're all doing performances and things and comedy bits. So there is the scripted nature of it. But this really is a movie MGM put together to showcase all of their stars. So if your star was supposed to be known for comedy bits, Laurel and Hardy, that's how they would show up in this. I think those are the biggest ones, your Laurel and Hardy, your Buster Keaton, and then the mystery one that I think is what you were referring to earlier. We'll talk about that soon. Mm-hmm. But the concept is cool to me. It's not something that you could do now because this entire concept exists due to the studio system that existed back in the 20s and 30s. These were all contract players for MGM. So it wasn't like they had to send out and see, oh, is Buster Keaton available? Is Jack Benny available? They were all contract players with MGM Studios.
Right.
So it was pretty much just, hey, call everybody. They work tomorrow.
Right. And I guess my concern with it, my frustration with it, is that this is something that existed well before, the talkies, right? This is a production that would be put on at Broadway or, on stage in general. So the concept of this review is not new.
Sure.
The idea of it being filmed and put into theaters is what made this, well, hey, now it's super accessible and we don't have to like go to a production or to a theater to go see it. We can actually see it at home, or at least close to home, in the theater closest to us. So that's interesting. To me, it's very different than what I would have expected anything from 1929 being, which isn't a bad thing, right? But it also makes it very difficult for you to be super invested when, it is 2 hours. So it is a lengthy production at the time too. It doesn't feel like it grabs you the entire time through these musicals and plays that are put on. There's interesting ideas. There's some that work a little bit better for me than others. But also, inherently, a variety show in Revue at that point is going to be a little more reliant on current topics, right?
Sure.
There's going to be a lot of, names that are dropped or like references that are made that are very timely. And going back and watching that, that's lost on you a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Whereas with a narrative, there's something you can get into and follow throughout the whole thing. So it makes it a little more difficult to grab onto. Again, that doesn't make it a bad movie. I think there's just bad experiences you can have with it. And, for the record, I did watch this on YouTube, so correct score and everything. Great. No issues there. So the bad experience is solely just my own mindset going into it, but also it's technically not a movie, right? In that sense, where there isn't that narrative, there isn't anything going through it. There's no behind the scenes where Conrad Nagel is kind of like talking with someone else. There's a couple of moments, and forgive me, I'm forgetting his name. There's another individual who talks with Conrad a lot. He's a singer. He does a lot of other things too. He plays ukulele.
Ukulele Ike, I believe is his name.
There was another name that he had where it was like Little something or...
It's the voice of Jiminy Cricket.
It is.
Cliff Edwards.
Little Cliffy.
Yes.
Yeah, or something Cliffy, yeah.
Yeah.
So he, first off, the good, insanely expressive face.
Yeah.
He just like absolutely cracked me up with some of the faces he's making. And there's a couple recurring bits throughout the movie where people will be hyping up someone. And you'll see like Cliff in the corner just being like, oh, stop it. Like just so excited that they're talking about him.
Right.
Very humble. And then they'll be talking about someone else. And like the faces he makes in that are just the gestures. Dynamite, so good. But that is the reason I bring him up, is that there's a little bit of narrative there where you kind of hear the way he talks to Conrad and you're kind of like piecing together relationships, motivation, like a couple things. But outside of that, it really is just, did you like that? Here's another.
Yeah.
And like just move on for the next 2 hours. So a couple things break that up. We'll talk about it. But that's the layout of this specifically. So you're correct with who stars in that. Now, specifically, what was this nominated for?
So this was just nominated for Outstanding Picture.
That's it. Does that surprise you, given like the performances and like not just individual of the acting, but the songs?
No, it doesn't surprise me because, like you said, there's no narrative here. There's not a whole lot of opportunity for like a dramatic performance or anything that could compete with any of the other movies that were nominated as far as acting goes. So it's really just how good was the overall compilation of everything that was pumped into this movie.
Right. Well, and of course, this being the first year with talkies, there hasn't been an opportunity for there to be a best song, right?
Sure.
That hasn't existed previously. And what's interesting is it hasn't existed for this, because if it did, even with the Broadway melody existing, historically our take on the Broadway melody song being absolutely mid.
I just did.
I saw the jazz hands were out. I think we can both agree that this would have taken the best song for a very unique reason.
Yeah.
Or interesting reason, I should say.
Oh, wow. My mind went blank.
Yeah.
And I thought about the unmentioned moment that
Yeah.
I don't even know if we're talking about the same thing.
We are for sure.
Yeah. This has a huge finale, not to get ahead of us, that kind of changed, I don't know, film history forever. Like it led to one of the biggest musicals of all time. And it's definitely there's a reason it's the finale. It's the climax of the movie. It's pretty impressive to me.
I agree. Okay. No, it is. I think that even the song itself hasn't changed much. We're dancing around this for a specific reason. The production that's put on, there's a very good foreground, background trick that's done where people are climbing up on stairs, like to a higher platform. That is very impressive, right? And that's kind of what you're looking for. For me, if we're going to watch something that is very, supposed to be visually appealing, I'm looking for that visual nature. And that performance did give me a lot of that visual nature, what we're dancing around here is the fact that this movie, the Hollywood Revue of 1929, depending on which Hollywood Review you're looking at, does feature music by Gus Edwards, Arthur Freed, and Nachio Herb Brown. Now, those last two names of Arthur Freed and Herb Brown might be familiar if you're familiar with the movie Singin' in the Rain.
Right. Or the Broadway Melody, actually. Arthur Freed did the music for that as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But Singin' in the Rain. Huge musical.
And that is the song that was actually introduced in the Hollywood Review of 1929.
Which is so cool.
Very interesting. To a point where when you hear it, you're like, hold on.
Yeah. Wait, I know this one.
Right.
How?
So I was unaware that this song existed well before the movie Singin' in the Rain.
Right.
So imagine my surprise when the song does exist here, and with the exception of like a few notes and moments, basically the same exact song.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So very interesting, but the way that it's performed here is great. The problem is that, especially now in the hindsight, right, 2025 lens, we're comparing it to the movie, and we're comparing it to, this Singin' in the Rain performance. And there's something that just can't be beaten about the iconic nature of swinging on the telephone or the light pole with the yellow umbrella. Mm-hmm. There's just things that you can't beat about it. So when you're watching this, you're like, well, that's admirable. Like, it's still good, right? Yeah. But it doesn't like hold a candle to what it becomes later on.
Right. Which is the theme that we've kind of toyed around with this entire show.
Correct.
Oh, this was
not
a good
compare it.
Gangster movie, but doesn't beat The Godfather.
Right.
It's hard to kind of set your mind to not think that way.
It is tough, but also at the same time, like, this wasn't like 2 years later, Gene Kelly stars in Singin' in the Rain. Right. This is like 23 years later?
Something like that, yeah.
1952 to 1929. So 23 years later, the movie is made based on this. Now, my knowledge on Singin' in the Rain before this movie was the movie, right? Was the 1952 Gene Kelly movie.
Right.
So to have anything introduced to that now, my mind is open. Were there any other iterations of Singin' in the Rain that existed beyond 1929 before 1952? Is that something you know?
That is not something I know. I would imagine that it showed up all the time, even if it's just like a brief little ditty.
Yeah, but like almost like a nursery rhyme. Like it exists, but like there's no, production behind it or score put out after that. It's in your head.
Right.
Interesting.
That's probably something we'll dive real deep into when we get to Singin' in the Rain.
Right.
But at this time, I have no idea.
My understanding is that it's not. From the little research that I was able to do to find this, I've not found any other iterations that have existed. So to me, again, if this was 2 to 3 years, sure, they're like, hey, that song blew up. We should do something with that.
Yeah.
23 years. That's what's interesting. But funny enough, as we'll talk about here shortly, not the song that I walked out of this movie referring to the most. So,
okay, good. We were talking about the song.
I had a feeling we were. So this was released in June 20th, 1929. Pretty, sizable budget at the time, $400,000, $426 to be exact. Box office, this made north of $2 million. So made back production pretty well. But again, you got to think, you got to imagine, with the talkies now being such a movement, having a review like this, a variety show that everyone knows of at the time, but now can be played in theaters. That's the Taylor Swift Eras tour of, movies back in 1929.
She's back, folks.
There's Taylor Swifts around for anyone with eyes. So it's interesting because as a production, you mentioned that this wasn't even the first musical that MGM had put out this year, let alone nominated for Best Picture.
Right.
So how do you think this held up to Broadway Melody in relation to a musical?
In relation to, well, that's the thing. Like the feeling that was lacking for you and me of being able to go, oh, wow, it's Jack Benny, or oh, look, it's Joan Crawford. People were having that when they were going to the movies. So when could you imagine now? I mean, it happens. A movie trailer comes out and there's a list of like 40 people.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh my God, what a stacked cast. I'm going to see that. That's exactly what this was. So people must have been flooding to the theaters to go check this out.
Right.
And
which clearly they did.
Right. For them, it's probably not that far-fetched, like the concept, because they were going to stage shows probably, to catch variety acts and things like this.
And if not, they're familiar with the characters or actors that are in that review.
Right. Some of them could have just been like, oh, wow, I love Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah.
Let me go check this movie out. And then they get a 3-minute skit with them. And I don't know, maybe they go home sad singing in the rain. But
among other songs.
I don't want to go bit by bit through each segment. I want to talk about the highlights. But before we do, to me, movies like this or just movies from this era in general that feel like they were built for the stage, I'm always looking for what ways they utilize like the film technology. What separates this from, oh, I could have saw this on stage live, or you really have to see it as a movie. And this movie has a few moments like that where they do some fun things with the camera. I think most notably, it's the making miniatures out of people.
Yeah.
That happens a handful of times.
I will say that was the standout cinematography for me, in which someone is depicted as much smaller and fitting on the hands of Conrad Nagel. Correct. That's
right.
So in the hands of Conrad, and a conversation is had between them, even to where he puts her on the ground and you see her step off of his palm. I thought that was very interesting. And that to me felt like, okay, well, that's, what can we do in a movie that we can't do on stage? That was very cool.
Yeah. And there's a few other things early on in the movie. I believe there's some like dissolving effects when the movie first opens, or some overlapping of film. And there are rather a couple of color scenes that must have been a big deal going to see this movie in theaters.
Correct.
Those are most of the standouts of, hey, wow, look at the movies, not just the stage performance. Beyond the miniature people, did you feel like there was enough of that to make this feel like, oh, I get why it's a movie?
No. So there are only two things that I thought noticed. The color aspect, sure, but again, when you see it in person, you mentioned, seeing this in theaters versus seeing this in person. Seeing this in person, obviously the full color element is all there. In theaters, not so much, because we weren't there at the time. So that's one. Two, you mentioned the trickery with like a person on your hand. Very well done. To a point where it's kind of amazing that we're in the same year that we talked about in Arizona, where like there's moments that you're not underneath the exact position of the microphone, so we just can't make out anything that you're saying. Sure. A similar thing happens at Broadway Melody when people are walking out of rooms or into rooms. You really can't hear them at certain points. So it's kind of amazing that in those moments, in the same year where those moments exist, you also have like an entire Broadway production where everything is pretty, for the most part, legible, audible, and you have great camera work like that. So it's very cool to see that. Credit where it's due.
Yeah.
On the flip side, you talked about the differences of seeing this in a theater versus the actual stage production. I would say the only thing is it saves you a little bit of time, just because obviously there's a little bit of setup that comes into these stages and productions.
Sure.
And that, would take some time on stage. In the movie, it's very easy to just kind of black out and then black back in, or come back into the movie with everything set up. And Conrad is introducing, the next bit. So I would say that there's some time-saving elements with the movie itself, just in terms of, allowing the fade in and fade out to the next production. But otherwise, I did not feel that there was anything camera work wise that was like justification of this movie.
Right.
Now, the Singing in the Rain performance is fun. It's very memorable, because again, that song is just, you can tell that they realize they landed into something, because then once that musical aspect happens, you hear the song about 2 more times.
Right.
Especially over the credits. So they know what they have, and they're definitely playing that up.
Sure.
But otherwise, no, I wasn't very impressed with like the camera work, just because it did very much feel like, okay, now we want the camera over here, now focus on this person.
Right.
And it didn't feel very artistic vision. It was just more, we got to record these performances.
Yeah, there's a concept where to me it feels like your parents showed up at your stage play and they were like, hey honey, you go on the left side, I'll cover right, and I don't know, grandma, good luck from down center.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's always interesting to me too. I wonder, you're a big fan of Trip to the Moon.
Yeah.
Movies from that era specifically, they did so much with like smoke bombs and like apparitions on and off set, and just like cuts where people will vanish and all kinds of things like that.
Right.
Do you think that by this point, 1929, those tricks were like cliche and just overused?
Probably because now with the microphone, it's going to pick up so much. So the cutting of the camera and lined up with the audio has to be in a way to where, like, if you have any kind of differences there, it's going to be so much more noticeable. Back then, it was just the visual aspect. You didn't have to worry about the the microphone.
Yeah.
Any bleed over in that. Now you kind of do, which makes the moments like the pulling the little woman out of your pocket and putting her on the palm of your hand so much more impressive, because it does feel like the movie overall is like, look, isn't it amazing that we're even getting like the audio captured of this, let alone a color sequence? Like, we're good. Like, that's really all we're focusing on, right? And to your point, with the musical of Broadway Melody and with, the dialogue of the other movies, so much more importance was being put on getting the audio captured of these that I don't think they were really thinking through, like, well, what can we do that's great camera work as well? Much like they did in Trip to the Moon. So that's why, to me, it was kind of like I leaned up in my seat a little bit more when that sequence happened, where you're like, oh, even in 2025, I'm looking back and being like, how did you do that? Because it looks like, not perfect, but like a lot better than I would have expected anything like that to show in 1929. Yeah. So it did feel a little bit like a variety show, in the sense of like, yeah, we have this and we have that, but isn't it like a little interesting that now we're introducing this to you?
Yeah.
So I liked that aspect, and I was like, oh, cool, there's going to be a few more of that. It really is the only of its kind. So it does hit at just about the midway mark, just a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it does pick you back up into it, but then I was kind of like, oh, okay, cool. We're just outside of one song and Singing in the Rain, just more performances.
Sure, yeah. That's fair.
But still, I mean, not to take any discredit away from like what they did on this, or even that sequence with like the hand, the woman in the palm. Very well done and very interesting. I'm sure that was, mind blowing at the time to be able to do something like that. But it's also the only time in the production that it kind of like asks you to subvert reality, right? Otherwise, it's a very like, hey, I'm Conrad Nagel. I actually am Conrad Nagel, and I'm going to introduce this next act, which is an actual act. Like, it does feel very based in reality. That's the only fantastical moment.
Yeah, and that's always the bummer in any of these movies, when you're like, hey, you're a movie, like, do movie things.
Yeah, exactly. That's where my frustration was, where it's like, you could do so many more things like this.
Yeah.
We don't have to just be like the front page news of like, hey, you know this person, you know that person, which has its place. But it's not necessarily, I would be reacting the same way if the Eras Tour is nominated for Best Picture, right? Where it's like, you're not really a movie, though.
Right. That's fair. So going down the line of all the different acts, I mean, when it first starts, you've got your introduction by Conrad Nagel, and Charles King shows up, Jack Benny, Cliff Edwards. You remember Charles King from the Broadway Melody, of course. I do. The first memorable moment, I would say, is a song by Joan Crawford. She does Got a Feeling for You. Do you remember that? I say it's memorable. Do you remember it?
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah. A lot of the opening bits are just songs sang by celebrity.
Mm-hmm. Well, by the way.
Right, yeah. It's great, and I will say I think you can understand the audio a lot better than you could in Broadway Melody, but it takes a little while before you get to something that is more interesting than just a song and dance.
100%. And another reason, go back and listen to our Patriot episode where we talked about lost media. Another reason that it's very important to have lost media in as many formats as you can is thank God for closed captionings, right?
Sure.
So that's how I was able to pick up with a lot of this. I mean, credit to closed captioning abilities now. Not 100% on some of these movies, just because how can you make out some of the, things that are being said on the microphone when they're like not really underneath it. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, there's just moments that you're not going to be able to pick it up, because this is the first year where this technology existed. So there are going to be some hiccups here and there. Thank God for closed captioning to kind of pick it up and let us know.
Yeah.
What something was said. We watched a movie last week together in person, and someone said something. I don't know if you caught it. They said, "I can't hear without my captions."
Yeah.
And I felt that so much. I was like, yeah, I need my captions.
It is crazy how, as I've gotten older, I'm like, turn on the read sound, please.
It's moments like if I put on like captions on like Fast 5 where I'm like, okay, well, I don't really need that. But, for narrative purposes, and especially research doing this, I want to make sure I'm hearing everything. Yeah. So I need my words in front of me.
Yes. It's like a read along.
Yeah, exactly.
I love those books. Yeah, they're books.
Can you imagine like doing like a sing along, but it's a read along, so they have the closed captioning on in the theaters, and everyone's just like reciting the movie back at you?
You know what they should do at theaters? Movies with captions, and then make it popcorn reading. So everyone in the crowd has to read.
All right, E1, it's your turn.
Yeah,
yeah.
And they're just like,
That sounds miserable.
Especially, I am your mother.
Especially Hereditary. Especially with how often I'm in the movie theaters and how little my theaters are packed out. I just imagine being like, well, I'm just not going to hear 5 minutes of this movie because
Right.
the entire row H isn't filled.
Yeah.
But yeah, true.
That's an interesting concept, though.
Please no one do that.
Yeah, don't do it. It's interesting, but awful. So for me, the first bit or sketch, I guess, that I really enjoyed, and this is because I'm such a huge fan of her, I never knew I could do a thing like that, sung by Bessie Love.
True.
I just think she's adorable. I love her, and there's a bit where all of the male dancers like grab her by the waist and cartwheel her
Yes.
repeatedly. This poor woman.
This was the segment where there's 3 individuals, right?
This is just her.
Okay.
The one where there's 3 is towards the end.
Correct.
I'm
and that's the
something.
story.
I'm
Yes.
something.
Yeah.
I'm Bessie. Yeah. Oh, that's so cute.
Wait, no, so I'm getting these confused. There's a segment, I think you're correct, it is still towards the end, where there's a story being told about 3 individuals who are interested in one person. And they then take turns of like dancing with her and take like, okay, so it's not the same with, it might be Bessie, but it's not this number.
I don't think it's this number.
Okay, copy.
Yeah. But honestly, all I remember from this one is them spinning her around like she's a pinwheel over and over. And I'm just like, Bessie, my girl, are you okay?
Look what they did to my child.
Just tore up. That's the first skit that I really enjoyed. And it's because my girl, Bessie. What was the first moment that you were like, okay, this is unique, this is interesting, I'm kind of cool with this? Or was it just the end?
It really was about halfway through, and we can get into it here if you want. But like one thing that did stick out to me was the way that Cliff was kind of introduced. Of like, it felt kind of like for the first couple numbers, we just have this stage production of these stairs built in. There's a moment where there's a production stage of just stairs, right, from the very beginning. And then the majority of the B crew is kind of sitting on the stairs and reacting to everyone, like singing songs. And I kind of liked the aspect of like, well, let's do kind of a roster check of who we have to perform here and like little performances. And I liked little Cliffy the most. Yes, you're right. He's introduced later on as Ukulele Ike, but he actually calls himself Little Cliffy. And for some reasons, that stuck out to me the most. Yeah. And I was just like, cool, that's just who you are to me now. So I liked whenever he was on screen. To your point, you brought up, there's like a moment later on towards the end of, I'm whoever. Yeah. It's a 3-piece act. He's part of that too. So he is throughout the movie. But whenever he's on screen, you're just kind of like, what's the Simpsons bit with Poochie? Whenever Poochie's not on screen, someone should be asking, "Where's Poochie?" at all times. That was me with little Cliffy. I was like, "Where's little Cliffy though?"
He's great.
Hey Joan, you're doing great. Where's little Cliffy?
Yeah, bring him back. I love it too when he does like the falsetto singing.
Yes,
he's a highlight.
Well, that's the thing is that he's very funny, and he has like, this is exactly who you're looking for in 1929, right? Like, are you very funny? Are you very theatrical in your faces? Like, could you have done very well prior to 1929, but also could you really thrive in 1929 and beyond? And Cliff was very much that kind of person. So Cliff Edwards, MVP for this for me, just because he did kind of stand out as like, hey, I could do a lot of face acting, but also very great at singing, great voice. I don't know how to put that. Your acting is great even with your voice and not just your facial reactions. Right. So audibly, you're great. Yeah, that was really it for me. Now, there is a song that is a production, rather, that is put on a little later that I was just absolutely enamored with. And you and I have kind of been talking about this.
Yes.
Off and on. And we danced around it, so to speak. Do you want to talk about that now?
Let me throw out
it does fall into Act 2.
Right.
Yes.
So, real quick, the Laurel and Hardy Act, I just want to touch on that real quickly.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. Those guys were huge. This was their first time in a sound production. So this was like their opportunity to break into the new Hollywood, if you will.
Right.
So they do a magic act, and if you're unfamiliar with them, you mentioned Abbott and Costello earlier.
Mistakenly, yes.
Sure, but very much that type of act. Even, what are the two magicians now?
Penn and Teller.
Yes, Penn and Teller. They're like the early version of that, even the amount of comedy they do.
That's correct.
So I was super excited the first time I watched this movie to see, like, oh, this is my first experience with Laurel and Hardy. The comedy bit is not great, if I'm being honest.
It's not their best work.
No, and I've since gone back and watched an early talkie with Laurel and Hardy, and my biggest problem with them is that they sell a joke and then they continue to oversell that joke.
Yes.
I think they linger too long. One call out though from this act, and then we can move on to Act 2. They do a banana peel bit, and I think this is one of the earliest banana peel bits of all time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this like exploded banana sales after this. It was really influential.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you, Hollywood Revue, because otherwise without you, we wouldn't have Mario Kart. So
Yeah.
Thanks for that, I suppose.
Isn't that crazy?
That's
you
nuts.
Joke, but that's true.
That is interesting.
Wow.
I do wonder, I mean, here's the thing. I haven't done my research on, when was banana peel jokes originally introduced.
Sure.
And when were they funny? Answer is always for the last part. But for the first part, I mean, Laurel and Hardy have been doing this well before the movie, right? Not the banana peel, but like comedy and magic in general.
Yeah.
So this made a bit of sense to me that they would be involved. And I was like, oh, cool. Very cool to see still. However, I share your sentiment where I was kind of like, oh, I mean, you guys are like very big names, even to now, right? Unfortunately, I've never heard of Conrad Nagel. Unfortunately, never heard of Cliff Edwards before this. So seeing these two, I kind of expected a little bit more. And it was surprising to me that there are moments in this movie that kind of make you like, lean forward in your seat a little bit. This wasn't one of them.
No.
In terms of recognition, it was. But in terms of the actual performance they put on, it was fine.
Yeah. It's very, very like base comedy.
Yeah. In fact, to where I believe when this is introduced, this act is actually introduced as Magic Act.
Yep. They get real creative with it.
Yeah.
Once we move into Act 2, there's one other number.
There's an intermission that falls in between, but I mean, it's not even super worth mentioning because it is just like 3 songs that are played by the orchestra. So just mostly as, at least they recognized, Brutalist in 2024, we need an intermission.
Yeah.
In 1929, they're like, this is 2 hours, so let's put an intermission in there.
Yeah, so. And thank goodness, right?
Yeah.
I went and I got my snack.
I never left my seat.
I didn't either, but I wanted them to think that I did.
Yeah.
I listened to
I appreciated it, though. It was a nice little break to be like, all right, cool, let me stretch.
Yeah. Act 2, before we get into that big number, you do have a dance by Buster Keaton. How did you feel about that?
Good. I mean,
real sensual.
Pretty sensual.
Yeah.
The dance of the sea is what you're referring to.
That's right.
So I liked the idea that this tried to capture the underwater nature. It wasn't super effective. No. So it didn't make me do the how'd he do that of it all.
Sure.
So good.
Yeah.
Moved well.
Yeah. I mean, that's the highlight is, hey, look at this man like belly dancing, basically.
Yeah, basically.
That's it. It's done for laughs. It's Buster Keaton.
Yeah.
When is it not? But it was a fun time.
I mean, that's Buster. The thing is that like it's important to note that what we're about to talk about directly follows this dance that Buster Keaton has done.
Yes.
So if you're like, wow, that was probably the highlight of the moment for me, then the next thing happens and you forget about the previous.
Right.
So not a ton of memory of Buster Keaton's dance there, but was kind of interesting to be like, oh, it's Buster Keaton.
Yeah, I know him.
But again, after the Laurel and Hardy of it all, like you're kind of now primed to be like, oh, look, that person. But like nothing really happens.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, he kind of caught a stray from the Laurel and Hardy of it all. Buster did.
Poor Buster.
I know.
Okay, this is the moment that we both enjoyed the most, I think.
I have a feeling that if you had told me that this existed before I watched this, I would have been like, okay, so he wants to make sure I'm watching these movies. Like because now he's going to expect me to come back and be like, hey man, that would never happen because that's such a weird thing that you said.
Yeah.
So what were you doing? You're like, oh, I just lied. I wanted you to watch it. This is one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen, just in terms of expectations.
Yeah.
What the movie has given you. Again, we're in Act 2. Second performance of Act 2. So we're about an hour and some change into this production.
Sure.
Right? And they introduced kind of like almost in a very serious tone to try and scare you.
Yeah.
To be like, what scares you? And people are like, I'm afraid of what Lon Chaney could do if he got my hands on me. And they proceed to put on a production. And the title is as says. I'm not making this up. The title, just for reference, this movie has consisted of songs such as For I'm the Queen, or You Were Meant for Me, Low Down Rhythm. Like you mentioned previously, the Buster Keaton was The Dance of the Sea.
Yeah.
This number is called Lon Chaney's Gonna Get You If You Don't Watch Out.
It's so cool.
I cannot believe that this is real.
It's so cool.
And not only is this an entire production theorizing about what Lon Chaney's going to do if he gets his hands on you, they include Lon Chaney.
To an extent, they include
Correct.
Lon Chaney.
That's correct.
Yeah. So this is super exciting. You just hosted your horror gore lore movie marathon.
More gore lore, correct.
More gore lore. And we're both big horror fans.
We are.
There's always the discussion of there's not enough horror recognized at the Academy Awards and blah, blah, blah. Totally agree with that. This is the first little taste of like straight horror that has dazzled the Academy.
Correct. And it wasn't just like, they put a black curtain behind them and kind of do this like little funny number. There's a production element behind it.
Yes.
Where there's like smoke coming through doors and like bedrooms, and supposed to be like a very vulnerable position that's then compromised by these monsters. And we should clarify, for anyone who's unaware, Lon Chaney is the actor who performed in multiple films, but is mostly known as the Wolfman and other Universal monsters.
His son was the Wolfman, Lon Chaney Jr.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Lon Chaney himself at this point was probably
correct.
best known.
You're absolutely right.
Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yes. I heard Lon Chaney and just immediately went for it.
But yeah, he's the man of, 1,000 Faces?
Correct.
So he is what horror movies are up to this point.
Correct.
So it's so cool that they're recognizing him for that and bringing him into this production and saying, listen, this guy's super scary. Mm-hmm. Let's celebrate him.
It is. I'm trying to think of the most one-to-one comparison we could make if the Hollywood Review of 2025 existed, and we had the Lon Chaney's going to get his hand, or Lon Chaney is going to get you if you don't watch out. What that would be in 2025.
Yeah,
I guess it would have to be Jordan Peele, right? Because like not enough people know Ari Aster, so it's not like Ari Aster's going to get you if you don't watch out.
Well, it's interesting that you go towards a director.
Well, because like otherwise, like I mean, no one's going to know David Thornton, who plays Art from Terrifier. So I'm trying to think of like who plays a specific character and how everyone would know. I could say Brad Dourif is going to get you if you don't watch out.
Sure.
But like no one's going to know, oh, that's the voice of Chucky. Not everyone, rather.
See, interestingly enough, my brain goes either to Bill Skarsgård currently or Doug Jones.
Okay, you know what? In terms of accuracy, Doug Jones is going to get you if you don't watch out, is the 2025 version of this, because Doug Jones has done so much.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think Doug Jones doesn't get his flowers as much as he should. By the way, incredible performance in What We Do in the Shadows TV series.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
You should.
Yeah.
He reprises his character of that throughout the series. We'll get into it, but great show, great performance. But otherwise, you're absolutely right. I mean, Guillermo del Toro's a boy. Brought him in for multiple productions. He was the fish man in Shape of Water.
Sure, yeah.
He was the fawn, and I believe he was also the
Pale Man.
The Pale Man as well, correct.
Yeah.
So he was multiple characters. I mean, that the list doesn't end there, but multiple Guillermo del Toro productions. You can... Oh, he was Billy in Hocus Pocus.
Yep, he goes way back.
Way back. So a lot of work in like horror specifically.
Yes.
So great call. It's going to be Doug Jones. Unfortunately, I think we're Lon Chaney and Lon Chaney Jr., very recognizable names. Doug Jones isn't going to stand out as much to people, which is unfortunate. He should.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree.
But just sheer numbers alone, you're right.
Oh, yeah. He's carrying a big weight on his back.
Yeah.
I think you're in a band. You should write.
I am.
Doug Jones gonna get you.
Doug Jones gonna get you. I feel like
That'd
a
be
good
awesome.
way for me to get checked into a facility is if I come to my bandmates and I'm like, hey guys, I wrote a number called Doug Jones is going to get you if you don't watch out. I think there's a very good chance that there's like a wellness check done on my household.
Worth it.
You know what? Chase would understand, and he'd be like, "Oh, Doug Jones, sure, yeah, but what are you going for here?" The other three would be like, "Is he okay? Like, what's going?"
I'm just saying, when Guillermo comes to you and he's like, "Hey, I need a song for my boy," then he'll be getting a
I'll
wellness
tell you this:
check.
if the Oscars want to bring me on when Guillermo, and it sucks to do this because Doug Jones isn't a part of. I would have loved to see Doug Jones' version of Frankenstein, but it was Jacob Elordi in the new Guillermo del Toro movie. If the Oscars come to me and they're like, "Hey, obviously Frankenstein is nominated for Best Picture. Let's hope we want to do a number for Guillermo," and they want me to write "Doug Jones is going to get you if you don't watch out," gladly.
Yeah.
$1 free. I don't care. I'm doing it. I will write that number.
I would love to see that.
Because think about it, it'd be so great to see like the Pale Man and like the Fawn come out and like Billy, like a number of characters he's played, the Fish Man, see them come out and like terrify people would be fantastic.
So good.
So good.
And that, that brings us back to the actual performance in this movie.
Yes.
Essentially what it is all of these monster characters with their masks and their creepy faces and things come out and terrorize this. I don't know if it's like an orphanage kind of setup, like
it may not initially intend to be that, but it does very much look like that because they're trying to fit as many beds as they can on the stage.
Yes. So it's like an all-girls school or something. A bunch of girls sleeping in bed while this guy sings about, listen, you gotta go to sleep because Lon Chaney's out there and he's gonna get you.
What I love about this is like it's not Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are gonna get you. And it's not, Hunchback of Notre Dame is going to come and get you.
Yeah.
It's that Lon Chaney, the man, is going to like come and get you if you don't watch that.
He's going to show up. Who knows what he's going to be wearing, but he's going to get you. And it's really a cool dance. I mean, it's such a cool tribute to his character and horror in general. There's like trap doors and smoke coming up from under the stage as he kidnaps these girls and takes them away. Just such a cool little moment in history for horror at such an early time in cinema history.
I cannot explain to you. If you're listening to this podcast, I assume you have some film knowledge. So you are probably aware of the Leo meme from Once Upon a Time Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Almost quoted the podcast here. And him pointing at the screen and leaning forward. And I just need you to know the reaction that I had going into Act 2 and hearing the Pearl Ballet and then the Dance of the Sea and just being like, okay, we're doing more of the same. Got it.
Yeah.
And then this song comes on, just being like, what? Like, was almost like, oh, I'm asleep right now and I'm dreaming this like weird sequence. So happy.
It's so cool, man.
So happy that this exists and so weird. And just an immediate bummer that like everything that follows was not a direct sequel of Lon Chaney's Gonna Get You If You Don't Watch Out. Still some cool stuff. Right? I think Act 2, let's just go ahead and get this controversial take out of the way. I think Act 2 absolutely blows Act 1 out of the water.
Totally does.
There's way more happening in Act 2 to where you're more interested there. But again, we're an hour and 10 minutes in to this production.
Yeah.
So it's a big ask for 2025 audiences to go back and watch this knowing that there's more to come. I think they could have spread this out a little bit better with the numbers.
Yeah.
Because it's not every single one in Act 2 is phenomenal. It's just there are way better performances and ideas in 2 than in 1.
Totally. As we move on to those, one last thing I want to bring up about Lon Chaney's Gonna Get You If You Don't Watch Out.
We can talk about that exclusively if you want. I don't mind.
The big bummer is that you have all of this massive tribute and this... it's so cool. It really is. That song needs to come back for Halloween every year, I feel.
I played it on Friday.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, I mean, absolutely. I think my dad was like, what is this? But
it's awesome.
No one caught on to it.
The big bummer that you find out about it, though, is that Lon Chaney is one of 3 MGM stars that didn't actually show up for this.
Yeah.
He was busy, so he's not even on stage for it.
Yeah,
it's just a tribute to the guy. And then when you really look at the monsters on set, they're kind of like the Lon Chaney costumes you would buy at Walmart.
Yeah. It's not the stage production of them.
Yeah. Which makes sense because Lon Chaney never revealed his secrets, so you're not going to get a Lon Chaney accurate costume.
Right.
But that bummer aside, this is the highlight of the entire movie for me personally.
Easily.
So,
I mean, in a movie that features the very first recording of Singing in the Rain, kind of unreal that
Yeah.
anything is gonna. If anything, I kind of think we're in the wrong timeline. I love Gene Kelly's Singing in the Rain so much. It's one of my favorite films of all time. But if this introduces the idea that there is an alternate reality where instead in 1952 we got Gene Kelly's Lon Chaney's gonna get you if you
Yeah.
don't watch out, I kind of want to live in that timeline.
That'd be so cool.
I would love to do that. In fact, I think this is a really good time for us to introduce the idea that now that it is public domain, that we are actually making the Hollywood Review of 2025.
Yes.
Or better yet, maybe we call it the Hollywood Review of 1929, parentheses 2025, to differentiate the two.
Yeah, not confusing.
Not confusing. And then we just exclusively do 2 hours of Lon Chaney's Gonna Get You if you don't watch it.
Yeah. It opens up with Buster Keaton dancing a little bit.
And then Lon Chaney gets him.
Immediate. Oh,
You know why?
Why?
Because he didn't watch out.
Man, I love this. This is so good. So moving on with the rest of the
Unfortunately,
show.
moving on. Yeah, that's true. So immediately follows with the Adagio or
Adagio.
Adagio. Oh, God, thank you so much. The Adagio dance. Following that, because it really just didn't super impress me much. The next thing that really stood out to me was Romeo and Juliet.
Yes. Romeo and Juliet's a lot of fun.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The concept of this is that a performance is being done of Romeo and Juliet, and the director then informs the cast, well, unfortunately, the production wants to, or the producers want to go in a different direction. The studio actually wants to make it much more relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to keep the name, but we're going to change, we're going to keep the character names.
Yes.
Keep the character names, but the dialogue should be more hip and now.
Yeah.
In 1929.
This feels like an SNL skit.
It does. And it's not the best skit or sketch of this in this movie, but it is kind of refreshing to be like, oh, okay. Like, I see what you're doing here and it's funny and you're poking fun at yourselves and studios. Like, it makes more sense. There's a little more commentary in this back half of this movie,
Yeah.
quote unquote, than there is in the first half. So I appreciated that. I don't think it's like, I would tell people, hey, you should watch it just for this, but it was very fun.
Yeah. And just to throw this out, that's John Gilbert playing Romeo, Norma Shearer playing Juliet. Norma Shearer shows up next year in in one movie that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
She's fantastic. So look forward to her. And then playing the director is Lionel Barrymore.
Correct.
Who also is a big director we'll talk about a lot in the future. And then this is the first moment where there is color on screen.
Correct.
So
Which is interesting because it really doesn't need it.
No, it doesn't. But it does add that little bit of like, oh, okay, my eyes are now paying attention because, there's color.
Would have much preferred it for Lon Chaney's Gonna Get You if you don't watch out.
Yeah, but that black and white kind of adds
it does add to it. That's true. It's just like, if the problem is that if I was a producer in 1929, that I would just be like, yeah, this is all good. What if the big final number
Yeah.
is the Lon Chaney number?
God, I wish he would have been there. But I maybe that would ruin a little bit. Maybe it adds to Lon Chaney lore that he's just like, I'm not dancing. I'm Lon Chaney.
What kind of kills me, though, is that, like, having his name mentioned so many times, because they do say quite often, Lon Chaney's going to get you if you don't watch out, is that Lon Chaney just isn't there.
Yeah.
So it's not like, when you hear his name mentioned that many times, and suggesting that he's going to kill you, right? So to speak, or at least kidnap you at the very least. It's kind of insane that they didn't get his, like, rights, or, like, him there.
Yeah. I really think that adds to the lore, though, because you're just like, oh, which one's Lon Chaney? And he's just at home like,
I don't know if it adds to the lore, but it definitely adds to how funny it is.
Sure.
In that, like, it's just, oh, cool, so you guys got his approval? What?
He belongs to us.
MGM is like, just make a song where he just kidnaps people. I don't know, whatever. It's just so unheard of and absolutely funny. And I have a feeling it's not the last time we'll mention it. A, this episode, B, for the entirety of this run.
For the rest of my life.
So immediately following Romeo and Juliet is where you start kind of like hitting your like dingers territory, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just like nothing but like hits.
Yes.
And not the best ones, but like still just like very memorable. Singing in the Rain is next.
You've got the introduction of that.
The introduction of Singing in the Rain. And it's interesting because it is introduced by Cliff Edwards and it's sang by sisters, specifically the Brox sisters. Right. So this is where it got confusing to me, where I was like, oh, okay. Like this isn't like the headliner, like it's just in there. So this must have been like they didn't know what they had. It's very clear that they did because it comes back around.
Sure.
We'll get to that. But this is a very, this is, again, Leo DiCaprio pointing at the screen, snapping. is just like me being like, is that Singing in the Rain?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on right now? So it is just very small, like, hey, while things change in the background, let's just get these like three sisters to sing this song that we have. Feels very minimal. Immediately after that, we referenced previously that there is a segment where there are three individuals who say, I'm this, I'm this, I'm that.
Yeah.
So this is going to be Charlie, Gus, and Ike, right? I'm Charlie, I'm Gus, I'm Ike. And it's cute. I think I like the set more than I like the idea of them having like specific, almost like changing rooms that they step in and out of. Different costumes. They have their little songs saying, I'm Charlie, I'm Gus, I'm Ike. When I say memorable, I don't necessarily mean that in a good way, right? Because it just kind of like, I remember that little like ditty of that song. I don't remember anything else.
It's kind of an earworm.
A little bit of an earworm, but like the song itself was not catchy beyond that. It's just that one little like part of it. And there's just really not much to it. There's a second part where we bring your girl Bessie back.
Yes.
Right? You want to speak on that?
Yeah. So the three gentlemen are Charles King, who we know from Broadway Melody, Gus Edwards, and then Cliff Edwards. Wow, I didn't realize they had the same last name.
Yeah.
And then you do the women, Marie Dressler, Polly Moran, and my girl Bessie Love. I'm Mary. I'm Polly. I'm Bessie.
Yeah.
Bessie's so cute.
She is.
Anyway, I linger on that. I like this half much more than the three gents. And probably because of Bessie, whatever.
It's probably the Bessie of them.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I think your Bessie is my Cliff.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So like I'm like, oh, I like the guy one better because it's Cliff. But like that's it.
I do like Cliff Edwards a lot.
And I do like Bessie.
I mean, Jiminy Crickets.
I thought that would be appropriate to not say anything to kind of put crickets in there, but yeah, sure.
I'll leave that in and
you can
find some
in
crickets.
post put some crickets, yeah, for sure.
So I'm with you though. This isn't super memorable. It's catchy, and if not for Bessie Love, for me personally, it probably wouldn't stick around.
Sure,
but I'd probably go back and watch this just for that.
Yeah, this is what's weird is that like I mentioned that Singing in the Rain, Charlie, Gus, and Ike, and Marie, Polly, and Bess. I guess she called herself Bess, which is interesting. Anyways, that those are memorable. They kind of are, but not in like, I don't know. We're definitely feeling the aftermath of like Lon Chaney's going to get you if you don't watch out, and Romeo and Juliet, where we're kind of like winding down a little bit. Like those are still memorable, and like I remember they happened, but they're not supremely great on their own. Singing in the Rain is of course fantastic, but the way it's introduced is just kind of like almost like Broadway Melody, like the idea of the Broadway Melody, where like, look at this song we found.
Yeah.
Like, why don't we just put it in front of it or put it in front of you? Then you have Orange Blossom Time. And this feels kind of like, okay, the pulse of this thing is dying a little bit. I mean, like it looks fascinating because it is introduced in the Technicolor, right? It does have the color, the second sequence of which, this makes more sense for it to be color than Romeo and Juliet did for me.
Right.
Because it is more of like a production that's being put on. Specifically, this would be your Charles King when he's singing specifically. And it's to Myrtle McLaughlin, right?
Right.
That he's singing this song specifically. So there's ballet happening in the background. It is a very large production, and it's memorable in that sense, but nothing really stuck out to me. I mean, how did you feel about this performance?
Yeah, this is... If this would have been the finale, I would have been pretty disappointed.
Sure.
I think this has one of the more impressive sets, but that might just be because there were the color elements.
Sure. Well, and scope, like just the size of it all.
Yeah, it is pretty massive and impressive. To me, I think at this point in the movie, I was kind of tallying up who had appeared the most. And I think it's really interesting that beyond your announcer, Conrad Nagel and Jack Benny and all of that, it kind of either shows you who is having their moment in Hollywood right now or who they're setting up to be big. Bessie Love appears so often in this. Charles King, huge. Both of them in the Broadway Melody that came out just a few months prior. You can tell that they are kind of MGM's big stars right now in this moment. So that is kind of like the whole time I'm watching Orange Blossom Time, I'm just thinking, okay, who am I going to see next year? I got to keep an eye on Joan Crawford. Got it. Cool. All right. Moving on. So
that's high remarks of it. Is that who all is in here right now?
Yes.
And that brings us to our finale, right? The finale then brings us to Singing in the Rain. So it's interesting because obviously at the time they didn't know the longevity that this song would have, right? They know how catchy it is. So they assume, hey, let's, put it in here. It's interesting to me that it appears 3 times ultimately.
Yeah.
One, quite honestly, the most underwhelming, right? 3 sisters just singing this song, introduced by Cliff, little Cliffy, my boy. But then we do the fun finale. And the finale is a very large production, similar to that of Orange Blossom Time. Not quite the scope and scale of that, but it's still the entire stage. And we have the performance of everyone, in the rain, singing in the rain.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned earlier, there's a background piece, and in the background, there's like a staircase that like goes up almost like a bridge. I think it's supposed to be a bridge in the context. And you have a moment where everyone is on screen.
Yes.
Singing this song. And you even have like a really great close up. And this is one of the only other moments where I was like, okay, good camera work, where they like zoom in on the front line of the main cast and kind of like pan through them singing in the rain.
Right. Yeah.
So I thought this was good, right? Like, it isn't the movie.
Right. Right.
And it doesn't make the movie, but specifically to see the first large production number of this song makes it seem semi worth it.
Yeah. No, this is kind of iconic at this point.
Right.
The backdrop has, I guess, Noah's Ark.
Correct.
There's a rainbow. The idea is, I don't know, it's done raining, or it's still raining and the world's flooding, but we're happy again. And
yes.
Everybody's wearing these big yellow raincoats. They look like they're all about to get pulled down into the sewers. You have a great moment as they're panning across the actor's face.
Took me a second on that. I was like, it's definitely not, like, you can't tell it's yellow. What are you talking about? But yeah,
it's in color.
Is it?
Yeah, this part's in color.
Is it? I don't remember it being in color.
Uh-oh. Did you watch the wrong one?
Yeah. Tubi. Yeah, no. I just remember mostly the black bridge in the background, so that must have been my focus.
Gotcha. As you're panning across the actors, you have a great moment where Buster Keaton really stays true to his character, and he is not singing in the rain.
Yeah.
He's just kind of looking around. But
I thought that
really
was
fun.
weird.
Yeah. I think that is him just being like, I'm Buster Keaton. It's what I imagine Lon Chaney'd be doing. He'd just have like the most grotesque mask, just like kidnapping Marie Dressler or something in the background. But truly, truly iconic. And even though this movie is not referenced very often or talked about very often now, what it led to with Singing in the Rain and just like this shot almost is something that I think pops up a lot. Babylon.
Sure.
This is a moment in Babylon.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And because I did the podcast before that movie came out, when I was watching Babylon and I saw that in the background, I was like,
yeah.
I may be like the only person in this theater right now that has seen this moment.
I have to give Damien Chazelle a massive amount of credit, though, for this being only the second year that we've covered on this iteration of the podcast, right? But Damien Chazelle is coming up twice in 2 years. Because we talked about his love for Seventh Heaven and how that directly inspired the ending of La La Land. And to see him then follow up La La Land, is that correct, with Babylon and then First Man, or First Man then Babylon?
First Man and then Babylon.
Correct. So then follow up First Man with then more love of like old Hollywood and how Hollywood came to be. And that final sequence you're talking about, paying tribute to movies in the past, including Hollywood Revue of 1929, is very cool. And whether his movies are super effective or not, it's very interesting and admirable to see someone reaching across history like that and directly influence or citing influences.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. He has been brought up quite a bit.
Can't wait to see what he brings up in All Quiet on the Western Front next year.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was something in there. I don't know what it would be, but I mean, let's start wrapping it up. Overall, I think we've come to understand that you're not the biggest Hollywood Revue fan.
I think that the Hollywood Revue has introduced some things that will live with me forever, i.e. Lon Chaney terrorizing an entire production without being there. But it did stand out as probably the most fitting / most inappropriate movie at the same time to finalize this year, right? Because it is the standout. Not in a great way, but it does stand out the most in terms of it's not like the other movies.
Right.
In that there is no narrative. There is no direct pulse in this movie. And it is kind of that of a variety show, which means that it's a roller coaster of, are we super into it? Are we out of it? So very different. Again, not abysmal. It's just not really a movie in that sense.
Yeah.
And that's not to say, terrible, don't watch it. It's out there. And this is exactly what we talk about when we say preservation, right? This was put on Laserdisc in the 90s and then released on DVD. So it is accessible, very well so. Very much so. So thank you specifically, Warner Archive Collection, for doing that. But this is what we want, is we want to be able to go back and watch these things. And I think it's fitting to end this year, before we talk about the ceremony, to kind of like start at the beginning when we talk about lost media. So regardless of these are hits or not, it's important that we do these things and that we have things like, whether it's not super effective like the Laurel and Hardy of it all, or it's an absolute now staple and totem of my personality, like Lon Chaney's going to get you if you don't watch out. It's important that we preserve these things and have the confidence in our art that we're putting out and preserve it the best that we can, because we don't know if it's going to be lost to fires or not being able to be put out in the future and not something that we can recite.
Right.
Thank God for people like Damien Chazelle who are going back and referencing these things from 1927 and 1929 respectively.
Right, yeah.
I hope Seventh Heaven was from 1927 1928. We'll see.
Yeah, it was.
Hey, cool.
You nailed it.
So it's very cool that we have people like that who are directly reciting and, the work that we're doing here. But regardless how we feel about these movies, that's my best way to spin it. It's imperative that we preserve these in the memory of these things. So very cool to do. Also a very interesting one to end on for this year.
Yeah. I think that this is a cool movie to go back and watch. You're not going to have the time of your life watching this one, but this is cool if you want to explore more old Hollywood itself, because the way MGM intended, it's an introduction to a lot of its stars.
It also felt very similar to like the Rat Pack roasts that would go on to take over media in the future, where it did just feel kind of like almost like the Oscars themselves, a celebration of Hollywood in different ways. So very cool to see them like make fun of themselves, but also very much, okay, well, we just have to have like musical productions put on.
Yeah.
That vary in terms of their effectiveness.
A celebration of Hollywood, but mostly MGM Studios.
You have 2 minutes.
Yeah.
If only that was told
Yeah.
of this movie, but then we wouldn't have Lon Chaney.
No.
So that's okay. I'll take it. You take the good with the so-so.
Yeah.
Again, not a bad movie. Well, it's not a movie, but it's not a bad time that's being spent on it.
Sure. It's worth watching. That's what I say. So
Sure.
Hit me with a ranking, or not a ranking, a rating.
So on Letterboxd, I did rate this at a 2.
Okay.
Now, with the Lon Chaney of it all, I would be interested in moving that up a little higher. We'll peel back the curtain a little bit here. I watched House of Dynamite, and I ranked that at 2.5 on Letterboxd. To be quite honest, that's me mostly holding the last 15 minutes or so of that movie against itself.
Sure.
I saw that you rated it a little bit higher than that. I have a feeling we might be talking about that in the months to come.
Sure.
So we'll hold on to that. This is where I say that the skewing of like a 5-star system is tough. But I think I'm pretty comfortable at like a 2.5.
Yeah.
And that half is probably Lon Chaney.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sitting at a 2.5 as well.
Great.
Lon Chaney, Singing in the Rain, and the importance of that. It's a big deal. And I think I have a little bit more fun with some of the other segments than you do, maybe.
Sure. And vice versa.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's where I'm sitting with it.
I think that's fair. And again, that's not to say terrible, right? Like I would have rated a half a star if I was just like, I hated my whole experience with this. It's just not what I would have expected. And I think I've catered myself at this point in 1929 with, okay, well, what can we do, with musicals? What can we do with like the narrative of this? And I was really impressed with the majority of them. And with this, it's impressive, but on a different scale.
Right.
It's the same way that you can't compare, watching Citizen Kane to like going and seeing Hamilton. Like you can't compare those two because they're just so different in style.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense. We're running a little bit long, so let's jump into our double feature segment.
Yeah.
And then we'll wrap.
Do you want to start on this?
Sure, I'll start. I think you'll like this one. My pairing is going to be not a movie, but you should go online and you should watch the Muppet Show that was at Hollywood Studios. Just watch that. It's not a movie.
Oh, Muppet Vision.
Yes, Muppet Vision.
Yes.
Go and watch Muppet Vision. It's not a movie. It's a segment show, variety show, if you will, but it has that underlying narrative that you're looking for so much.
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect representation. The Muppets really have always been a variety show. That's the whole...
Mentioned 2 or 3 times on this podcast alone.
Yeah. That's going to be my double feature pairing.
I love that. I also love that you said that it's not a movie because now there's Hollywood Review. So in a similar sense, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm a double feature, but I'm going to say that you should watch Lon Chaney's Gonna Get You If You Don't Watch Out separately. And then immediately follow that with the You're Invited, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen sleepover series.
Okay.
They had a series called You're Invited, and there's one specifically of a sleepover where you're invited to their sleepover. And there's a segment of the sleepover where they try to scare each other with like spooky stories of monsters.
Oh.
And the entire segment of that, I mean, also watch Pizza Time because like that's, iconic. But there's that whole segment very much feels like in the same vein as Lon Chaney's Gonna Get You If You Don't Watch Out, where it is just trying to like friendly, spooky stuff, right? Like not very scary and not very serious, but like very fun. I would probably suggest those two things because when that stood out very much, I was like, did they just like You're Invited me like to this like 1929 production? What's going on?
I love it. Mary-Kate and Ashley referenced.
Look, you never know what you're going to get in this podcast.
Never.
It's a mixed bag.
Never. So, especially with your double features. They've been pretty wild.
I'm trying to keep it like, out of the box, but also like you see where the tether is.
Right.
Right. It's not just like you should see The Stupids.
No,
I mean, watch this with it.
Every time I do my double feature, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do the Muppet Show at MGM. This will be wild. And then you're like,
no, that's a great one.
Mary-Kate and Ashley.
No, that's a wild one, and I love what you did with it because again, like you referenced it, I see the vision. It is the variety of it, you know. It is very much a variety show, so I love that. But no, I had to stay true to my heart, and the Lon Chaney of it all just reminded me of the You're Invited video.
So that's going to do it for this episode. Just to throw it out real quick, send us any thoughts you have on this entire year. Next episode, we're going to do the 1929 Oscar ceremony episode. So if you have thoughts on the movies, thoughts on the show, anything like that, email us at outaopodcast@gmail.com. Subscribe to the Patreon if you'd like to support us financially. That's patreon.com/outaopodcast. All of the links to everything, including our social media, will be in the show notes. And one thing we haven't promoted at all so far in the show, leave us reviews and rate us on Spotify has ratings now. You can comment directly on episodes on Spotify, and look forward to, if it's not already out, the Once Upon a Time at the Oscars Letterboxd page. Mm-hmm. It'll have all of our double features listed, the combined scores of our ratings of these films, and that'll be a great place to get info on the show.
I realize now that it's probably not the best time for us to make the double features that we did for Letterboxd, because I don't know if Muppet Vision or You're Invited to Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen's Sleepover is going to be cited on Letterboxd.
Sure.
But much like life, we will find a way.
Perfect. That's what we'll do. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I'm your host, Kyle.
And I'm your co-host, Ryan.
And we'll
see you at the movies.